conversations about culture, your seriously pointless podcast about all your nerdy and geek things across time and the fetid, fleshy plains of the Zerg Empire. Yeah, that we've been practicing that one for a little bit. So, thanks, James, for that alliteration you threw in there.
A little bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah, a little bit of a tongue twister. So I had to take my time on it. So a tongue twister that I took my time on. My name is David, obviously, as you guys can tell, and I'm returning today again with my co-host James. What's going on, James?
I'm doing well today.
Awesome. So obviously, as you guys can heard, we're going to be talking about the only original Starcraft from Blizzard Entertainment. But before we get into that, which is going to be the meat of our conversation, we're going to go into our catch up, I guess we should call it, not our mayonnaise. Definitely our ketchup. That was a bad dad joke. I'm sorry.
Ketchup is superior to mayonnaise, though.
It is definitely.
I know some people are going to hate me for saying that, but
is it superior to mustard though? I really like a good mustard.
I don't know. As a child, I never used mustard at all.
Wow.
As an adult, I cook with mustard a fair bit. I still haven't used it as a condiment. I thought about making my own mustard just to try it out. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe if I made some really great mustard, I could work my way back to stuff.
Dude,
sometimes that works for me.
Jackie knows me, dude. Like, I'm an old man at heart sometimes. Like, I've got two different types of mustard upstairs. I've got one where it's got slightly ground up seeds, and one it's just got the fat whole seeds in it, and it's so good.
That's what I've thought of doing. Is I've got some whole black mustard seeds that I use for Indian cooking. I could just do that and some white wine and make like a white wine mustard with whole seeds.
So good, man.
I think that would be good.
It's so tasty. So
I like the burn of mustard. I think it's more like the vinegar and stuff.
At some point we're going to make a foodie podcast just for you.
I'd have a lot of fun with that.
You would, and I think we could totally do it. We just have to find something that's going to be on par with you, because I definitely can keep up with you, but I don't know if I can keep pace with you to the point.
It'll be fun.
I would try. But anyways, so obviously we're gonna do our catch up section. Other than what we've been cooking, James, what have you been up to? What have you been watching? What have you been ingesting?
Cooking. I bought a Smoking Brothers smoker this week.
Yes, I saw you.
That is what's on my mind today. So
completely understandable.
Once we're done with this, I'm gonna go do some pork steaks today, and it's gonna be great.
Well, to be fair though, we're hitting that springtime in the Midwest, which if you guys are from the Midwest or just the United States in general, it is barbecue season. It's starting to hit heavy.
In full swing.
I know, and especially smoking. Are you gonna do a lot of smoking on your?
That is the plan.
Okay.
It's a pellet driven grill. It's Wi-Fi enabled, so.
You got all the fancy stuff.
It'll keep track of the temperatures for you. You can change the temperature and monitor it from your couch inside your house. I mean,
you were gonna be super lazy.
The Smoking Brothers thing is amazing.
See, I really wanted to get one, but I think that's going to be a supplemental purchase, because we're going to try and redo this deck back here and kind of make it swing around the house. And once I have that extra little area where I can put a smoker, I'm done.
And this is one of those grass is greener things. Like, I have an offset smoker, which is charcoal, and people with offset smokers want pellet smokers because of the convenience and the ease of use. Mm-hmm. People with pellet smokers want charcoal smokers because they tend to deliver a fuller flavor because there's more actual fire involved.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, the convenience, I think, is going to be worth it.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, the charcoal smoker is amazing. If it's like Easter weekend and you got your whole family there and everyone's sitting around drinking beers and watching the ribs cook, that's a whale of a time. But you have to be out there with them.
Yeah. Always, you could mess up your meat.
You have to adjust them every 5 or 10 minutes.
Yep.
And I have definitely ruined ribs and stuff before by putting too many wood chips on. There is such a thing as overly smoking something.
Yes.
And it is really bad when you do it.
Yes, it's almost the equivalent of ingesting a giant bottle of scotch in your mouth all at once.
It's like if you just took an ashtray and upended it on your lips and just kind of rubbed it in.
I mean, it's definitely true. So I can appreciate that, and I can appreciate the ease and the comfort of what it is, because there was a couple guys at my old job that they swore by their pellet smokers and the Wi-Fi stuff and having it all set up, because they said it's so easy. It's just
extremely.
So that is maybe something I will look into. Hopefully in the next maybe year or so, I'll grab one. Maybe I'll just come over and watch you use yours
You
for a
should come
couple
by.
times,
We can
and then
swap.
I can just ogle at it and say, "Look, but Jackie, James has one. Can't I have one?" And then
I need one too.
that's right. And that's how I always get something. You whine about it.
Whining works.
Whining works, but
mentioning culture stuff. I've been playing Elden Ring a little bit lately.
oh, did you go in on it?
I am not very far into the game, and I'm not doing amazingly well. Souls-like games are not my strong suit. But,
it's okay.
But I love open world games, and I gotta say it is an amazing game, even if I'm dying over and over and over again.
Well, from what I've gathered, like I said, and you can't there can't be any. I mean, there can be stuff wrong. I mean, you can't go wrong though with had that many people liking a game like that. Even people that are not into like Demon Soul, like Souls like games, like you said.
I said just the fastest of it is amazing. And with the spirit ashes and the summoning stuff, you can get some help if you need some help.
Mm-hmm.
I said I'm hard stuck on a couple bosses right now, but oh well, I'll get there.
It's okay. You do a little grinding. Look up some of the easy farm areas.
I'm trying not to look things up because for me, like the main fun of the game is the open world, and the exploring is always what drives me in these type of games. If I look stuff up, I will kill it for me.
Well,
it won't be good.
See, I'm the opposite way though. Sometimes I like to nerf things a lot. That's just me though. You know me. I like to know the secrets. I like to have all the information before I go in on something.
I mean, that's how I play board games, but
that's how I play life. I'm awful. My wife would probably I don't say Jackie. Jackie would she would probably give I don't know, she would give anything to let me just like pull back and not have to ask 1,000 questions about what this specific thing we're going to be doing, and if I would just go with something sometimes.
Well, we could do like an all-inclusive thing in Mexico one year.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Nice unplugged vacation. You just have to show up and relax.
I'm totally down with that. She's the person that likes to go out and do things. Yeah. So she's like, let's go on a horseback ride. Let's go on a hike. I'm like, I want to lay on the beach and get drunk.
Well, and you can do those things too. Like you show up at the resort and you talk to the guy there, and you can just set up whatever you want, and it's all taken care of.
She's gonna drag me to all these things. I already know I am. I literally, you know me. My idea of a vacation is like I could literally stay home here, stay in my basement for a week and play video games, and no one bother me. That's my kind of vacation.
Yeah, sounds wonderful.
But that's not her kind of a vacation at all.
No, it's not.
Not at all. She wants to go somewhere. She wants to try things, and she wants to explore. And I'm like, okay, this is why we work well with each other. I'm a home buddy. You're not. That's okay. We can work
some balance in a relationship. It's important.
It's very true. So. But have you been? I know you've been playing. You said you've been playing Elden Ring. But have you been watching anything like anime or anything?
I've been catching up on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, I'm not going to hate you for this. Go ahead.
I had watched the first 2 seasons or 3 seasons.
Is it the one where he's basically like the introduction to his character?
I got through Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay.
But I recently reacquired access to a Netflix account, and I have been trying to catch up on some of the other seasons they've done now.
Okay.
And so I am, like Jotaro's like an older man now.
Yeah.
He still has Star Platinum, and then there's the young one.
I think I remember those, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just going through JoJo, doing the JoJo thing.
So I can't hate you for that because
great.
I have definitely gotten past that where I am. It's like his like 4-time removed descendant or something like that, but it's like the pyramid guys, like they've been revitalized or something like that, and they're like, I don't know what season it's called, but he's not JoJo anymore. It's like All-Star, like Waystar. I can't remember what it's called. It's been years before I've seen this, but I don't remember. It's like season like 4 or 5 I was on, and I finally said, you know what, I got to stop this. I can't go any further with this. I need to quit this before it gets bad.
JoJo is such a cultural touchstone, though. I mean, everything's a JoJo reference.
It really is. So that I might just like plow through and finish it up. I don't know for sure, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I'm just, it's great in the moment. It was great for probably the month and a half that I watched 4 to 5 seasons of it. And then I was just like, I gotta stop.
That's a lot of JoJo in one go.
That's kind of what burnt me out, I think.
I have to I'll watch it like in 10 or 15 episode spurts where Kelly and I will watch it a couple evenings for a week, and then we kind of give it some time.
Yeah, a little breathe. It's like a fine wine.
It has to breathe a little bit because I mean it's a fun show, but it's really the same. It's the same formula, right? You've got the old man who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
You got the young brash kid, and you've got the sidekick who overreacts to everything. And it's a formula and it works, but I can't binge watch seasons and seasons and seasons.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I totally understand. I'm trying to remember. Man, episode guide. That's what it was. So yeah, there is only like 4 seasons, I think, of it right now.
Netflix just released a bunch more.
Okay.
For the dub.
Yeah, I was on season 4 to where it was because that's the one where it's like his great grandson or something like that. Isn't it weird?
Yeah, it's his like half Japanese grandson. I think that's the one I'm on right now.
Okay, that's where I got, and he has to battle like these weird, like, they're like they used to be like they're like the vampires, but they're like they come back from the dead, or like there's like 3 of them or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking? Is that?
Oh yeah, those were the Pillar Men.
Is that season 4?
No, I don't think
season
so.
3?
It must be the next season. Well, the Pillar Men, that was season 2.
Maybe I'm getting all mixed up.
The Pillar Men were season 2 because that was before stands were a big thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was season 2 with the Pillar Men.
Yeah, all I remember is in season 4 is like his like half grandson is like super cocky and just like I think so. It also turned me off of it a little bit because I'm like it really annoyed me like that character. Like I enjoy JoJo because he was like, oh, I must do this for my honor, and I'm like, okay, this is funny. I get it. Ha ha ha. I'm like, now I just hate that character. This other character.
The first season was even more of a meme than the rest. I mean, there's literally a character named REO Speedwagon.
I liked that though. I liked that how bad it was.
It was great.
Yeah, and then they had like all the other ones that were like AC, DC,
DC.
And I'm just like, what is this? Like, your love of all things like hard rock or hard rock were just evident. But
did you
Dio.
Did you watch the Pokemon JoJo crossover from MASH?
Yes, you said great? I've seen that one. You sent me that one before. Yeah,
I've seen that one to you before.
Yeah, you have sent me that one before. It's good stuff. If you guys haven't seen that, it's a well, who did it again? I apologize.
That was Mashed, I think.
Mashed.
Yeah.
It's a JoJo Pokemon smash up, and it's actually really funny. It's perfect. It does very well job, very good job about blending the 2 shows there. I'm just like, this is great.
Like the bug catcher gets recruited. They made Misty a guy.
Obviously.
Mr. Misty, and he's got like a 5 o'clock shadow.
Oh yeah, absolutely 5 o'clock shadow. I was like, well, what is this? Like this is insane. But
anywho. How about yourself? You been up to anything?
Oh yeah, just a little bit. So obviously you saw whenever I came in here, when you came in today, I was playing a little bit like Guardians of the Galaxy.
It looks really fluid.
So it's my good that is going to be my first play for a single player game for a little while probably. I'm going to say maybe a third or a fourth of the way through it, kind of just judging by the amount of time I've put into it so far. I've heard it's only maybe like a 20-25 hour game, honestly, which is pretty good. But being that it's on Game Pass, I'm going to play it.
It's beautiful, and like you said, it's a Game Pass thing. They might just add more chapters to it, or just let it be.
Well, that's why I was wondering. Is I don't know if they're going to do any expansions on it or what they're going to do with it. But yeah, it's going to keep me busy for a while. Because I've kind of got Halo Infinite on the side right now because I know that's not going anywhere.
No.
So I will enjoy that as long as I can. In the meantime, though, things that have been getting me through the week while I have class and everything like that, I have been playing a lot of Magic: The Gathering Arena, James. I'm back. I'm hard at it.
I asked you a couple months ago when you started doing this if you could still feel the crack through the keyboard.
I absolutely can because I have an excellent Goblin Burn deck going right now,
and Goblin decks are fun.
Oh, it's a Goblin Burn deck. It's even better. So it's literally I just throw Goblin tokens out on the field, and I have burn cards that will literally every time they attack it does damage. They do damage, and I have got like 4 or 5. I take that back. I have 8 enchantments that basically they do one additional damage. Like they would,
Mhm.
you know, it's basically it's like what it is whenever a creature attacks that you control attacks target player, target spell deals 1 damage to target player. So you have like 15 goblin tokens out
Mhm.
there, and you're just like, okay, I have 2 enchantments here, die. And if they try to kill you if they want to kill you that way, I have other burn spells on my deck too.
I
So
mean, that's
it's
like the old Slife deck on
yeah.
steroids. You have some burn spells to clear the way. You have lots of weak creatures, and then you just try and knock them down before they
But
get
it's like
become big on the
it's a
field.
great, cheap, easy, historic deck that I can throw out there. In other decks that I've been playing though, I have been playing it's the new a ninjutsu style decks. Have you seen those
I
yet?
haven't seen ninjutsu style.
It's basically, hey, I'm attacking with these creatures. What? These creatures didn't get blocked? Ninjutsu. It's basically you can pay less than the cost of what it costs to actually play the creature, and it like will come out and it will switch the creatures. That one other one will go back in your hand, and the other one goes into attack. They can't block it because they didn't block it, so it attacks,
Oh my!
and it does like a specific ability. Like some of them will do like it gains lifelink for as long as it came out this turn, or whenever
Oh, that sounds brutal.
whenever a ninja does damages a player, create a treasure token
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is. It does a bunch of different things.
No,
So
that's interesting because that really messes the fundamental like skill of the game is learning when to block and when to just take it, and this messes with that.
I'm telling you,
That's
man, it's it's a free game. You can
you say
play.
it's free.
It is free. I have not paid a single dollar for it yet.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, though. Even though you get packs for
Yeah.
whenever you level up because you have a ranking system, you can
Hmm.
play actually ranked matches if you want to. You can get in there and you actually if you get packs when you unlock them, if you already have a card, they'll give you a wild card instead,
Hmm.
and you can actually use those wild cards and you could like pick out specific cards that you want and
Yeah.
just craft them basically. So
Hmm.
it's all there. It's the basic like mechanics and stuff like that of most these kind of mobile games, but it's on. You can get it for your computer, James, for your PC, see, and you can put that 3090 to excellent use. I'll put it
It's
that
a
way.
3080 Ti.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No,
But yeah,
I wouldn't buy a 3090. Those are a waste of money.
that's why I was kind of wondering. I didn't know, so I was just like, for
No,
some reason, I thought you said you got a
3090s
3090.
are like if you're like a developer and you need to have that computing power to process imaging or something. I mean that's not a user level
I get it.
card.
I would get a 3090 just to crypto mine, James.
I mean, yeah, if you have a crypto ray hidden around here somewhere.
No, not at all. No, but yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. I'm trying to think what else we've been doing.
I've been playing
Jackie,
a lot of League of Legends, but
I have played. I haven't been played a lot of League of Legends recently, just because I haven't had time. And whenever you guys get on, it's usually like later at night, and I'm just wiped at that point. So I'm just gonna crash. Hopefully this summer after school's done, I'll have a lot more free time to kind of sit
have some
and
more
play with you
energy.
guys.
Yeah,
So I will try and do that a little
man,
bit.
that game has a steep learning curve.
Yeah, it
Like
does.
I am trash at that game. And
I think I don't. I think I'm pretty deep. I'm okay at it, and then I go up and play like some like really high level character or high level players with you guys, and I'm like, I am trash.
I Zach is much better than the rest of us.
Oh,
He's
absolutely.
dragging us up to where I perpetually feel like trash against people who are better than me. And whenever you do join us and I get to play down with you, it makes me feel very good about myself.
That's right. I will continue to bring you guys down. I will bring you down to my level.
And it makes me feel great.
That's right. See, this is what I really need to wait for is just wait until I get pulled up to the higher levels, and I can say, oh, I'm not good at all. That's what I'm waiting for.
I mean, I feel like I'm learning faster than I would have without him dragging me up, but
Oh, yeah.
it's rough on the ego.
It's okay, but like I said, I will try and get in there with you guys a little bit. But what else have we been watching? I've been watching The Great, which is with Jackie. So this is kind of I don't remember. Did you ever watch the Marie Antoinette movie with is it Kristen? It's not Kristen Stewart. I can't remember her name, but it's an older one. But they kind of set it to like pop music and stuff like that. I don't remember that.
No, I don't think I saw that.
This is one of Jackie. Jackie loved this movie in high school because it came out probably late, like 2004, 2005, maybe even college even for her. But she really liked that, and the setting and the way they did the story was kind of it had the beats
Mm-hmm.
of the French Revolution in there, but
Okay.
they don't show anything about it until the very end, when the peasants storm the castle, because they do it from her perspective, and she's like, everything's fine.
So she's just not even really, only vaguely aware of what's
Yeah,
happening.
super naive about everything that's going on to the very end, and that's kind of what they do with this show. So
Which, if you're familiar with the historical wealth of the French nobility,
it's obscene.
It's staggering.
Yeah,
the difference between them and the common man. If
Yeah.
you think Jeffrey Bezos is a rich guy,
no.
I mean, he has a lot of money, but
Absolutely.
the magnitude of
comparatively,
but the magnitude of difference between the haves and the have-nots was much bigger than.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they literally could not fathom that. Like they did the thing of like they would literally eat until they had to throw up, and then they would throw up and they would go eat some more.
Mm-hmm.
And people couldn't understand that. Like when they're like starving to death, they would literally have people starving.
Yeah. So here's a good historical tip.
Yeah.
Louis XV. He used to do what was called the King's Table, and this is something that took place every single night.
Jeez.
There would be roughly 200 dishes over the course of 7 courses. The court was expected to show up, but not eat. And they would announce all these dishes. He'd be like, foie gras for the king, liver soup for the king.
Yeah, something fancy.
And they would parade these dishes past him, and he would just eat a few little bites of whatever he wanted. And everyone just stood there and watched him eat. And this is what they did.
What a prick.
Night. Yeah.
Jesus H.
It was a whole thing.
Don't get me wrong. Like I'm all for wealth equality and whatnot a little bit to an extent, but there's a reason why things like that, like the French Revolution, happens when stuff like that
There's
happens.
a breaking point. Yes,
I will totally agree with that.
I'm the kind of person, I think that class envy, by and large, is a tool the government uses to make us
I can see
ultimately hurt ourselves. I think class envy is not good for society, but
no.
There is a point where it's like, okay, guys, enough is enough.
Yeah, like
this is ridiculous.
You're doing really dumb things, and you're throwing into people's faces. And what do you expect is going to happen?
What do you think is going to happen? Exactly.
Exactly. So, talking about breaking points. So I know, but anyways, I know that show, The Great, is based on Catherine the Great of Russia.
Yeah.
So, but they definitely take a lot of that stuff out of context. Like, she doesn't kill her husband.
What?
And I told
that was one of the things that made her Catherine the Great.
Completely ruthless. Yeah, like she even though she gets pregnant by him, and she overthrows him while she's pregnant. And in the real life, she kills him while she's pregnant, has the son, and she's still on the throne.
And she installs him as a puppet.
Yeah. So, no. She doesn't even she rules Russia. She's like, I'm empress.
Oh, she doesn't even make him a puppet. She's like, he can be my successor.
Yeah, that's what she did, and she totally didn't even she kind of just shunted him off to the side. And she's like, he's my heir. She didn't really spend time with him, and that's why you find out later on in real life. If you want to find out, even though she was an amazing ruler, she's an absolutely horrific mother. So
often the case at that time.
Yeah, and so if you read about it, she's very big about pulling Russia into the Enlightenment age, bringing all the scientific, basically not trying to modernize Russia. Her son is insanely religious, and everything she does, trying to bring about women's rights and all this stuff, basically creating more equal, an equal standing. He just totally trashes all of the stuff she did after she died.
Well, yeah, he's projecting his hatred of his mom onto the things she accomplished.
Exactly. And everyone else is suffering for it.
As is often the case with these very harsh
monarchies.
The very harsh upbringings, the children often just, for the sake of dissing their parents, will undo everything they did.
That's exactly right. So they definitely...
Right or wrong, it's like, if she did, it's gone.
Yeah. But the show is very interesting, though, because it definitely... It downplays a lot of that and kind of makes it a little bit more of a lighthearted affair. Mm-hmm. They're starting to kind of make it a little more serious now. I think they're in this is the second season, so it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with it. I only watch it because Jackie wants to watch it. It's okay. It's kind of like...
Okay, I've got shows like that.
You know how that is. You want to watch something, you're like, I want to watch something dumb like Big Mouth and listen to fart and dick jokes.
Yeah,
but
it's like I watch TV to not think at the end of the day. It's not meant to be the thought-provoking part of my day.
This is definitely not making me, think about anything. But luckily, it's definitely not to the level of when I was watching. I finished up watching Raised by Wolves,
Mm-hmm.
which I told you about that last time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's really, that is some surreal shit right there. That is, I tried to watch that one night and I'm like, I got through like 13 minutes of an episode and I'm like, no, Dad, I can't watch this. Like, it's making me think too much. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to fall asleep. There is like super like iconography. There's a guy that gets like crucified upside down, but somehow but he dies and he comes back but he's back alive, but he's still dead and he's dripping. It's weird.
That sounds very weird.
It's super trippy, surreal. I highly recommend the show, but it's super weird and bizarre. But anyways, so that's kind of what we've been up to. A lot of weird meandering there. So now we're getting into the new segment of the show, guys.
Oh, God,
So,
we've really talked for a long time.
well, I know. That's what I'm saying is,
we should keep going. Okay,
it's all good. So in big news, we're going to be talking about, for the first story, is going to be the all new PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now are going to be coming together. And players can choose from 3 flexible options. So from the PlayStation website, if you guys want to see this, it's blog.playstation.com. So PlayStation announced, I believe it was last week. I'm trying to find the date on this exact. March 20. Yeah, March 29th, 2022. Jim Ryan, who is the head of Sony PlayStation, Sony Interactive Entertainment. That's who he is. They announced they're going to have, I believe it was 3 separate tiers, is what they're looking at, or 2 separate tiers. No, it's
a couple tiers. Yeah,
it's 2 separate tiers. I apologize. So they're basically taking PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and they're merging the two because unfortunately, PlayStation Now, came out roughly the same time as Game Pass, 5-6 years ago, I think it was, hasn't been really getting any kind of attention, really.
No, it hasn't.
So what they're planning on is they're gonna have these 2 tiers. One is gonna be PlayStation Essential, which it says here it provides the same benefits that the PlayStation Plus members are getting today, such as 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for saved games, online multiplayer access, and there are no charges for existing PlayStation Plus members in this tier. So
it's your online membership.
Yeah.
It's like the old Xbox Live where they give you the games with gold every month.
Yeah.
It's your basic package.
This is the same thing as they're going to be getting.
But they're throwing in a game catalog as well.
Yes. So you're going to get a few of those. That's the extra.
That's the PlayStation Plus extra. So
yeah,
it'll be $10 for the essentials, and the extra is going to be $15.
So it is 3 tiers actually. So yeah, it is 3 tiers.
And
so
that gives you PS4 and PS5 games.
So they say PS4 and PS5 games, and they say, including the blockbuster hits from their PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. What that is exactly, they have not said yet.
Well, it's kind of like the Xbox Game Pass. There are hundreds and hundreds of games on there. The number of titles that are new or exciting or truly blockbuster classics, depends on what your taste is.
Yeah. I have a feeling
the whole Dragon Age series is on the Game Pass. If you want to play that, that's there.
But there's a caveat on that. Like, it's through EA.
It's through EA, which I'm wondering if some of that's going to disappear when PlayStation does their thing.
I don't know, but that's the thing. I was more irritated that they had it on Game Pass, but you don't get achievements for it because you have to go through EA on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why would I want to play this game and not get the achievements? Don't get me wrong, I like the Dragon Age games, and I'll play them, but I've already played them and got the achievements. But I want to play the updated version where it has a slightly better graphics, maybe a little extra content, and I can get the achievements again, kind of thing. So that kind of annoyed me a little bit. But also, it's kind of it's just one of those extra little things that would irritate me. So I'd be interested to see if PlayStation does something similar where you're not allowed to get the trophies and things like that. But
we'll see. I feel like PlayStation has more first-party titles now.
Yes.
In the last 5 or 10 years, especially.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're going to have more to offer in terms of an exclusive catalog.
I will be interested.
See. Who knows how much of it's going to actually make it into this? I suspect they're going to do something similar to Xbox where they rotate the big name stuff in and out to try and get more people to buy it.
Yeah, I will be interested to see about this. I would be okay with this, honestly. I would be willing to play what's it say here for? So it's $14.99 roughly a
Yeah.
month, as opposed to, or so if you get PlayStation Plus Extra, it's
It's
basically
reasonable. I feel like if you're playing one game a month off their
yeah.
service, it's probably paying for itself.
Yeah, $14.99 a month, as opposed to $9.99 a month, which is the basic one. $39.99 quarterly, or basically $9.99 yearly, which is $100. So, which isn't bad at all. And I would be interested to see if on this tier, if you're able to play on like PlayStation Now, like for your PC, like they do with that. Um,
Now, if you
but that's what
can,
the but the premium, or the plus plus premium, PlayStation Plus Premium. That's the one that says you can play it on your PC and stuff like that. Which kind of, I was just like, do I have to pay for that if I just want to play the PS4 and 5 games?
now I might get that. I don't know if I stay subscribed forever, but if
Yeah.
I can play some of the games from PS4 and 5 area that I have not had because I haven't had a PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be worth it to me. I could buy that subscription for 3 or 4 months, and I could blow through some titles I've been wanting to play,
Exactly.
and that'd be great.
But the thing is, I don't know if they're going to allow us to do that or not. Which kind of, that's why this next tier that they have coming up here, which is the PlayStation Plus Premium, which I think this is they've got it caveated for the name right now. So
They've got 3 asterisks after they play on PC.
yeah, which is always good. That's later on down the line. I think it's only in certain regions that's allowed.
It's PC streaming. So
Yeah.
so you're not. It's not like it's going to let you download these to your PC or.
See, that's another big
They're
caveat.
not native apps. You're going to be streaming it, so
I really don't want to have to stream something on my.
It's going to be network intensive, and you don't get to take advantage of any hardware you may have invested in.
Exactly.
I guess on the other hand, if you have a potato PC, then
that's great. Yeah,
that's a great deal for you.
I mean, that's why. So let's do a couple of the benefits on there. So obviously, it shows that it provides all the benefits from the previous two tiers. Adds up an additional 340 additional games, including PS3 games, via cloud streaming, which I don't know how they're not doing an emulator for that yet. Catalog of the beloved classic games, available in both streaming and downloadable options from the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and PSP generations. And then you get the cloud streaming access for PlayStation, PS, PS2, PSP, PS4. And like I said, that is all going to be able to, you're also going to be able to stream PS5 and PS5 games, using your consoles and your PC. Time limited game trials. But this has got a little bit more of a price tag on it. $17.99 a monthly, $49.99 monthly, which is a big jump from just $39.99 a month, and then $119.99 monthly or yearly.
I will note something which is not mentioned here.
Yes,
is they're not mentioning titles launching onto their.
No, they're not.
This is not as much of a direct competitor with the Xbox service as they want you to believe.
Well,
in a lot of ways it is. They're offering a catalog, they're offering online service packaged together at a reasonable rate.
I'll make a caveat to that. So Xbox was just like this basically when they first started. So go back 6 years ago,
they didn't start launching games until this fall. Actually, it's very recent.
Yeah, so in their beta, so I would consider this almost like their beta.
Could be, yeah,
but they're not classifying it as the same. At least with Xbox, they're like, hey, this is our beta. We're trying it out. You can still pay for. You're going to pay for it, but we're not going to have any of our not our single player. We're not going to have our exclusive titles and whatnot on it yet. And when they're finally like, it's finally launching, which is they said that a year ago. They're like, and it's going to be launching with Halo Infinite. I go, okay, cool. It's all wordplay. Yeah. You're getting the kinks were ironed out. Cool, whatever. That's fine.
Well, I think also PlayStation is relying more on an exclusivity-based model than Xbox is, because we talked about this before. Like with Xbox, there's PC, there's multiple ways to play it. With PlayStation, they still rely very heavily on PlayStation exclusive titles on the PlayStation only to make you buy into their hardware and buy games off their system.
And unfortunately, I think that we're going to have that problem with PlayStation for a little while, right? I think they need to come to the realization that
I think it's going to hurt them in the long
yeah,
run.
they're stuck in that console generation era where they want you to buy their hardware so you can
Mm-hmm.
play their games. Xbox is kind of moving off. They're like, you want to buy our hardware? Cool, that's great. Here's a product. You want to play it on your PC? Cool, that's fine. You want to play it on your smartphone? Here, do that
You
too.
can stream games onto your smartphone. It's not every
Exactly.
title, but a lot of them.
Yeah, and like I said, if I'm sure they're going to be console specific games that they're going to come out with, but they're diversifying so much more,
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of I think they're playing more of a long game than PlayStation is, and I don't know if
PlayStation has kept up so far by keeping their quality high on
yes,
their exclusive games, but I think it's going to shoot them in the foot very
and
soon.
I think
I think
it's
hardware agnostic is the way to go. I mean, look at like the Steam Deck and stuff coming
yeah
out. Like it doesn't even have exclusive titles.
no
It is like a Nintendo Switch to carry around that can play your indie games.
exactly, and I'm of the mind that if they're going to sit there and they're going to say you have to buy their hardware for it, it's going like you said, it's going to shoot them. They're gonna wither because at some point you're going to have to either buy all these really high end studios and pay them lots of money to come out with really good
Mm-hmm.
games and sink tons and tons of money into them, and you're still not going to get as big of a profit back
Yeah.
because it's time and time again has shown that first, single player games
Mm-hmm.
are not where the money's at.
No, not anymore, which is a shame. But
Mobile games and multiplayer games, unfortunately,
mm-hmm.
are where and subscription based games are where the money's at, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where a lot of these companies are moving to help supplement these single player experiences, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's something that they're not
Yeah.
they're starting to kind of move into a little bit.
Yeah. And I think PlayStation will have another successful generation with PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is because of how horrendously expensive graphics
Yeah.
cards are at the moment.
And how scarce they're right now.
And that's not going to last forever, though.
Yeah.
They're already working on expanding production capabilities.
Yep.
Now, that type of technology, it'll take 5 or 10 years for them to really
Yep.
build up the supply chain of silicon and chips and everything else.
Yep.
But
especially after everything went down, yeah.
Especially after everything went down with COVID, but it's going to get there.
Yeah. Well, you're already kind of seeing that a little bit. Like if you looked at prices recently, like with graphics cards,
It's
dropped
starting to dip. It's
quite a
starting to
bit.
dip. I think some of that is people are going back to work, and the demand is just lower.
Mm-hmm.
Crypto is also not as it's still very profitable, but it's not as outrageous as it was a couple years ago.
Which because everyone was trying to make a little extra money where they could, and they're like, if I invest $2,000 in this, I can make $8,000, and I'm like,
I mean, it was at the point where there was like power companies were doing that. Like rather than selling extra power back to the grid, they thought, well, we could just run a crypto service on the side. I mean, these were like legitimate big name companies were mining crypto just to.
I mean, because they're like we're looking towards the future because things are going to destabilize, and you're like, well, maybe, but who knows what they'll do in the future?
I mean, 10-year-old video cards are still selling for like $600. I mean,
yeah.
Like I've got a used Radeon R290. I think it's worth more now than it was brand new when I bought it.
I'm not even going to tell you what I sold my. What was my? It was as a 1080 with 6 gigs on it.
Bet you could probably still get $600 or $800 for that.
I got more. I sold it for more than that. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, I'll just leave it there.
That's insane.
Yeah. And all because somebody was like, I want this, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, I asked them like, what are you going to use it for?
That's.
And they told me they're going to use it for crypto mining, and I'm like, okay, well, here's my price. And they're like, we'll pay you for it, and I'm like, cool. If you're that dumb, go right ahead.
I don't mind fleecing a crypto miner.
I don't care either. I was just like,
get their money's worth out of it.
Oh, absolutely. I was like, it's been well kept for. I was like, I pulled it apart and I cleaned it. It still works great. I'm like, here you go. So. But yeah, that's definitely something that's going to be interesting to see in the future with all those kind of moving parts and whether or not PlayStation is going to be going forward. So, in other news, though, is there anything else you want to add to that before we move on?
No.
So I know we kind of are going to go back, hopefully, to do this maybe monthly, and kind of do this month's game releases. So we're going to do a quick rundown. If any of this
first quarter of the year, there's not a lot here.
I know. So if any of this kind of like piques your fancy, let me know. We got Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker
That
saga.
is by far the most notable thing.
Yeah, MLB The Show 22, which a lot of guys I know like that. Chinatown Detective Agency, Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers Edition, which that could be fun.
Which is the remaster of Chrono Cross. That could be cool. I don't know if that style of JRPG is going to carry the same way it used to back in the day.
Nah, probably not.
I don't know if I have that type of attention span anymore. But
I do not. We have Godfall Ultimate Edition coming out. The House.
I'm surprised they did that because the Godfall flopped pretty badly.
Pretty bad. So we'll see how bad. I don't know. Maybe they're going to try and tweak it.
This is the thing with games now, right? If it flops, you just keep putting money into it until it's successful.
Yeah, we'll just put a nice little varnish over it. The House of the Dead remake. Sherlock Holmes. I'm sure that supposed to mean Sherlock Holmes, the Devil's Daughter. Slipstream, Dream Vibe, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. I don't know what that's about. Cat Cafe Manager. I know
that sounds fun. I mean,
that sounds like something you are going to be getting for your Nintendo Switch, James.
But
Road 96, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, which is going to be a Nintendo Switch release. Chernobylite, Pocky and Rocky Reshrined, Yomarawai.
A lot of these are games coming out to Switch for the first time and not new titles.
Yeah. You have Zombie Army 4.
Well, I will say Chernobylite is oddly timed since...
Really? You think it's oddly timed?
Well, no, it's interesting that a game about Chernobyl is coming out when the Russians just captured Chernobyl, and by all accounts did a lot of damage to the structure, but...
Well... Other things. Apparently, there are some reports of saying that the Russian soldiers that invaded that area, they're actually pulling them back away from the reactor, and they're actually getting like radiation sickness.
Well, it's the thing. People talk about the reactor itself, but the fallout in that area is real. There's a reason it's a whole exclusion zone. Just churning up the dust would be enough to get people sick.
Which, if you drive enough tanks through there and fly enough planes through across it, yeah, you're probably going to do it.
Yeah, not surprising at all. People are getting sick.
I'd say I was sad if I didn't, I would not say that I will say that I'm not sad that they're getting sick. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to get political, but I'm just saying.
I feel bad for the average Russian soldier who probably has little to no idea why they're actually doing this.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of people who kind of same thing happened in Germany back in the day. If you were raised as part of the regime, then your choice was either to go along with it or get your mom shot. And, I mean, there's a lot of people who would rather just go with it than get their parents and family killed.
I mean, I'm saying that's what happens when you have
But I know several Ukrainian people locally who have, bought vests and helmets and flew back to Ukraine to fight, and I have no idea if they're good or not. And it's...
Well, they make their decisions. That's their homeland.
I'm definitely rooting for Ukraine, but
to be fair, I guarantee you, a lot of us would do the same thing if we ever had the issue here in the U.S. So
probably.
God help anybody that ever decides to do that. So
that's a lot of things.
That's why I said you're even more worse off here than you are in Ukraine.
I have a short list of people in my mind that I would go to their house and join them.
Absolutely.
We'll just leave it at that.
I'm going to say maybe, we'll leave it at that. I definitely have at least 4 or 5.
I can think of a couple old scout leaders who...
I don't know who you're talking about, James.
I know exactly who I would go to.
Exactly. You're just like, oh, God. So on top of that, we have the Serpent Rogue Blood Hunt, the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Edition. Wow, which I guess
actually,
is still going.
I'm probably going to get that one.
You're going to get it for, what are you going to get it for? The Switch, or what are you going to get
probably
it for?
Probably for PC or Xbox One or Switch, because I love the Stanley
That
Parable
was really fun. I did play it when it first came out on Steam.
I have seen the ads for this one, and it's supposed to have some new endings and much better graphics, and I mean, I'm sold already.
Well, you got to use that graphics card for something, right?
Exactly.
Exactly, right? Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which I want to get this. I like it because it's more of a role. It's kind of like a Fallout meets Vampire the Masquerade. So I kind of like that kind of stuff, even though it's a little emo sometimes and it gets a little
You like those 3D RPGs that you can walk around and talk to other people.
That's just me.
Like Outer Worlds and stuff you did too.
I really like that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try and say this word. Dorfromantik. Yeah.
Dorfromantik? I haven't even never heard of that one. I don't know what that's all about.
Toshimaki, Behind the Twilight, which that totally sounds...
PS4 moving to Nintendo Switch, and I never heard of it, so probably a bad game.
Probably. And then you have the ultimate Nintendo Switch Sports, which actually... That was their big thing at one of their launch, or their Nintendo Switch kind of conference things they did a little while back.
the Nintendo Switch sports games have historically done way better than I would have ever thought they did.
Oh, absolutely. So that's kind of why I was
I think they're real popular in the little kids suburban mom market.
That's what sold the Wii U or the Wii, man. I mean, I'm
That's
telling
the
you.
reason the Wii made. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, they're like you can play sports on this. You can play bowling or tennis or whatever it is. It doesn't have it can be whatever you want it to be. And they're like, it's family friendly, and so moms were like, this is great. It's for everybody, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But terrible name, man. I'm just saying. I know what they were doing. They're like, we will play, and kids are like, we.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, is not a thing in Japan. They use a different.
No.
I think chin chin is the term they use, but
yes. It's definitely something interesting.
It's like the person who named their Chevy Nova. I mean, lots of jokes there too.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So. Anyways, so is there anything else you want to add on the releases that we have coming out? Probably
no.
Okay.
Like I said, the Stanley Parable is the one that sticks out the most to me on that list.
Honestly, I want to get the Lego Star Wars, but that's just me though. And talking about more Elden Ring news. I found this I thought this was pretty cool. So
this is cool, but it destroys my self-esteem.
I know it makes you understand how bad you are about Elden Ring, James. So I paralyzed a former, I believe he's a Chinese firefighter. A former firefighter, so he's paralyzed from I believe they said he was paralyzed from the neck down,
and ventilator dependent.
Yes, so
he's paralyzed on a ventilator.
That makes a lot more has a lot more meaning to you than it does for everybody else. So I can understand that. Just the severity of the paralyzation. So he uses a specialized controller that he has tubes that he can blow into, but he has reportedly beaten Elden Ring.
Yes, this guy is apparently a famous streamer, and he has custom software programmed to allow him to control his characters by blowing into tubes in the right patterns. And he has managed to beat Elden Rings already.
Yeah, James, how does that make you feel?
Not great.
Trash.
I'm stuck on the Margit the Grafted guy, so that's like the first important boss. This guy's already won.
I know. I'm going to butcher this guy's name here. I apologize. Zhu. You want to give it a go, James? You see it there on the banner?
I don't do Chinese.
Yeah, that's awful. Neither do I.
Zhu Mingun.
Yeah,
maybe.
But he's on the video platforming. Billy. Yeah, and Zhu, I guess he's on Twitch, I believe, as well. But yeah,
Zhu.
Yeah, so you can actually go, if you guys had a chance, you can go check him out and find him. But apparently he streams quite a bit. But yeah, this was the biggest thing he just did recently. And I thought this was really, really cool.
Story. Apparently, he was really depressed, and streaming has helped him be social again and give him something to do in life.
So I've noticed this with a lot of folks that they're homebound for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. That streaming and the internet has really helped them kind of interact with people if they're not able to get out.
Which is great, because that was always one of the dreams of the internet, the MMO genre especially.
Oh, absolutely.
Promised that back in the day, and more power to you.
Yeah, like I said, and like you said, the software that they have nowadays has made it super accessible, and that's one thing I like about Microsoft a little bit more than PlayStation. They're all about this accessibility thing. Mm-hmm. They have initiatives, basically, they have set up to hey, for people that have disabilities, get with us. I can't remember what the website is that they have with Microsoft, but it's literally, if you go on there when you have a disability and you're having an issue using the controller like that, get a hold of them.
Tell us what you need and we'll try to help. Yeah.
Seriously, and sometimes they will figure it out and they'll give the person a free controller.
Yeah.
And the software to run it, and it's compatible with PlayStation, or not PlayStation, with PC or Xbox control or Xbox systems. It's really cool to kind of see that these kind of systems are going for people that have these kind of disabilities, because they can enjoy a lot of the same things that everybody else does. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to having something that deprives them of enjoyment in life, they can enjoy life a little more. So well, check out the video online, guys, if you want to see this nice guy, this streamer just totally put James to shame with his Elden Ring skills. So the final story, I kind of threw this in because I actually really like Game of Thrones. I know you're not as much as I am. I love Game of Thrones, more the books than the TV show. But This is the Game of Thrones prequel series. House of the Dragon premiere has been revealed, and it's going to be set for August 21st of 2022 this year.
So is George R. R. Martin involved in this
absolutely,
at all?
probably. I bet you he helps write, like, kind of like he oversees some of the scripts and stuff like that to make sure it's roughly the right stuff. I bet you he'll even direct one episode, probably.
We'll see, I guess.
But he really likes. He did that. He usually, like in the old series, the old TV series, he specifically went in and made it a point. He would direct one episode every season.
Yeah,
like you can go through and you'll see like his name will be on the directors and whatnot. So, but so he'll go in and try and do his thing. But kind of what I've seen so far, it looks really cool. So the show, if you guys haven't got into it yet, it's based on the House Targaryen, or the Targaryen family, which are these are the guys that basically ruled the kingdoms with an iron fist. And I want to see how it goes, because I really like the Fire and Blood, which is his prequel kind of book he wrote.
And that's what this is based on.
This is it's basically like the Targaryen dynasty a little bit. I really like it. Have you read the books at all?
I have read, I think, the first one. It's not my type of fantasy.
You make me sad, James.
I'm more of a David Eddings and a lot less of a George Martin.
It's okay. It was good. Enough that I enjoyed it, and I read them all. I'll have to give you the. I have the audiobooks somewhere on my computer, so I can send them to you. So you'll enjoy. I think you would enjoy just listening to them. I think, as opposed to just like absorbing them that way, like reading them. So
I would. Yeah.
Did you ever watch a TV show at all?
I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Okay, and then you're just like, I'm done.
I'm not big on like the whole sex position thing they have going on.
So I will tell you this. So once you get past the first season, or even like the first
I've heard it got toned down a lot.
Because they really started focusing a lot more on the subterfuge and the actual machinations of the kingdom.
Oh wait, this is getting really big. We should take this more seriously, maybe.
Well, to be fair though, in the first book, it's got a lot of sex in it, and it does, and they do play that in there a little bit, but they definitely tone it down significantly, and and I understand why they did it, and I think it helped it out in the long run. It really did. That last season, though, made me cry a little bit, because they have nothing to go off of.
Well, and that is part of the reason why I never took the plunge, was I heard that fans, generally speaking, did not enjoy the last season or the ending. I'm like, well, now I definitely don't want to put the time into this series if I know it's not going to end well.
So I definitely have rewatched it a couple times, but what I'll do is I'll stop at that last season and I won't watch the last season.
Just like pretend it didn't happen.
That's what I do. So that's just me being me. So, but yeah, I am excited to see this. I know you're probably not as excited as I am, but I wanted to throw it in there.
Oh, that's good.
So you can be excited about the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie coming out, or maybe you can be excited about the what's the one I saw that the Uncharted movie that came out? You're gonna watch.
That could be more interesting.
Yeah, I can see that maybe. What's the other one that's really, really bad? The Super Mario movie that's coming out with Chris Pratt, James.
I will probably watch that.
You're an awful person.
Maybe I'll watch it on the Disney Plus service.
You're trash. You're dead to me.
I like Chris Pratt.
As Super Mario?
I don't know.
I want to know what voice he did that convinced them to say, "Oh, this is our Super Mario."
I mean, it's probably going to be terrible, but there's a long line of terrible Super Mario movies that I've enjoyed.
I begged to
have you seen like the old one?
No, it's a great movie. Take it back. So, what's first name?
The dinosaur.
Mario. What's your last name? Mario. Mario. What's your name? So is your name Mario? No, Luigi Mario. How many Marios is that total? I'm Luigi Mario and then Mario. So 3.
This is 3 Marios.
3 Marios. All right, get these Marios out of here. And I'm like, what is
like
this?
the evolution regression machine that turned. I mean, it was weird.
It was great. So
reportedly everywhere. I mean,
reportedly Bob Hoskins, who's the guy that played Mario. Apparently, after like a month of being on set, he knew how much of a shit show that movie was going to be, and he just started coming to the set drunk. So taking that into account,
which might have helped.
I think it helped.
There's something to be said for being an awesomely bad movie.
Yeah, he was just like, but he was like their third choice. Originally, they had wanted Danny DeVito, I think, to play it. And he was like, "No, hard pass."
Yeah, I don't blame him.
It was just funny because I think he got hooked up with Tim Burton about that same time when he did Batman
Yeah,
Returns.
you know, it seems like things worked out better for him anyway.
Yeah, obviously. By the way, if you haven't seen him in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that's a great show.
It does, yeah.
So, anyways, guys, we're gonna finally get into the meat in the episode after taking a little while to kind of spin our wheels a little bit. We're gonna be talking about Starcraft. So, James, do you want to do a quick rundown about what you remember StarCraft being like? What do you remember about it? Because I played quite a bit of it whenever I was younger. I don't know. Did you play a little bit of it?
StarCraft came out in the late 1990s. It was 98, I think.
Yes.
It's like a military science fiction real-time strategy game. It was made by Blizzard Entertainment for Windows. It started the big StarCraft franchise, which is a whole thing now.
Yep.
It came out on Mac OS as well, and eventually Nintendo 64 for some godforsaken reason.
Well, why not, right?
Interesting things to me is it was a sci-fi based real-time strategy game, which was unusual at the time, and in a lot of ways a competitor for what was the other one? Tiberian Sun was the expansion.
Should my Command Conquer?
Yeah, a lot of ways a competitor for Command and Conquer. It was interesting in that it featured 3 factions: the Protoss, the Zerg, and the Terrans.
It's significantly different races that you could play and had different build and play styles.
Yes, and unlike something like Red Alert, where
things were just reskinned.
Things were reskinned, but quite similar units. They were just kind of balanced. Like, well, the Soviets might be a little bit better at tanks.
Yeah.
And stuff, unlike Red Alert 1 and Red Alert 2 pre-expansion packs, there was a lot of similarities between the factions. These had 3 totally different factions. There was a much bigger emphasis on micromanagement. So all of your units, by and large, had their own abilities. And so not just your ability to build things on the map and command your armies, but then actually when they're fighting, there was a lot less just kind of right-click on the enemy and wait to see what happens.
Yeah,
and it spawned this incredible competitive scene that lasted until StarCraft 2 came out.
No, absolutely.
I'm sure there's still a StarCraft 1 competitive scene.
There totally is, yeah. And
this has been like the real-time strategy genre for people who love real-time strategy. And in a lot of ways, it's the pinnacle of the genre.
I will totally agree with you on that because I was of the mind that whenever it first came out, we were fairly young. And we got a hold of it a few years after it had been out for a little while. So I think it'd been a couple of days.
We did Red Alert first.
We did Red Alert first.
I didn't really encounter StarCraft too much until after we had kind of played out that game.
We encountered it after we started playing a little bit of, say, Warcraft and Warcraft 2 mainly Warcraft 2, and which is when we got into StarCraft because we're like, hey, they came out with a more of a sci-fi based game, which I like sci-fi a lot more, in my opinion, than I like fantasy. I love fantasy, but I always like the cosmic aspect of it's something that is plausible as opposed to magic where it's like that shit will never happen. So
fair enough.
That's just the way my brain works, and I enjoy it. So, but yeah, I remember we started playing that. And it was you, me, and Chris Sire. And I'm trying to think if anybody else really played it. I don't think really anybody other than us 3.
I think Waldo did occasionally, but he did more Rise of Nations with us.
Yeah, he definitely did a little bit of that, but I even like Cole and them. They didn't play a lot of that. So they were more into fighting games and whatnot. So, but yeah, I remember starting playing that, and I was vividly taken aback by the amount of detail that they put into it, and even the storytelling for that matter was fun.
It was definitely competitive for something like Red Alert 2. They had a very detailed story campaign.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And each race had its own campaign too, didn't it?
Yeah. They each. So that's the other thing that kind of set it apart was each race had its own little section of campaign, as opposed to where the other ones they would literally say, hey, you take in this lane. This is, like with the Allies and the Soviets on Red Alert, for classic example, you would play it all the way through as the Allies, and the Allies would win, or you played all the way through and the Soviets would win. No, in this one, you would play as, the Terrans, which are the humans. You played through, and they say you could play through as them, and you go, okay, cool. This is how their part of the story ends, and then the expansion comes out, and okay, it's you get to see how the Zergs play in their campaign. They have a Zerg campaign, but it had new units, and then the third expansion comes out, and it's a Protoss, campaign. I'm like, okay, that's really cool kind of concept.
It was very cool.
But it's you're still playing with the same character. You have characters in there like Kyle Rayner, who's the main guy, Terran, and then you have I'm trying to remember her name. She's the Queen of Blades, and she gets transformed into a Zerg. Kerrigan, yeah. She starts out as a Terran, kind of like a psyops kind of fighter gal, sharpshooter.
She becomes the heart of the swarm.
As she becomes the heart of the swarm. She's Kerrigan, Queen of the Blades. So yeah, if you guys ever play the new Blizzard MOBA game, she's in it. So, but it's really fun. So, what stood, like you said, I know you kind of.
The big thing that stood out for me, like I said, is having 3 different factions that were totally different play styles, totally different units. I mean, it was a lot.
It was quite a bit, and like I said,
and I really loved the Zerg because I remember as a kid, just the way that as you conquer territory as a Zerg, you expand your creep, and you get this cool organic representation of your nests spreading as you go, and your units got big bonuses when you're fighting on your own creep.
So I thought
that was so cool.
That's another thing that they really kind of pushed in this, that you could only build in certain areas that you were basically your zone of control is what they called it. And that's something they didn't have in Red Alert. You could literally just build wherever you wanted to, essentially.
Well, and base rushing was a common tactic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You could load up at transport with engineers, and as long as one got through and conquered one building, then you could build whatever you wanted next to it.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. It's they had totally different, like you said, with those different gameplay moves. You had different strategies, and people would implement and whatnot. It was really cool to watch the kind of stuff that people come up with. And these are very common strategies that people still use nowadays, even still.
Like, for example, for the Zerg, they didn't have a housing structure that increased their unit capacity. They had this hive mind, which was one of the first units in the game that could fly. And also, it had to be alive for you to keep your housing capacity.
Yeah, because if it died, some of your creatures would just start dying, slowly.
Yeah, and these things were very slow and very vulnerable, and that was one thing as a Zerg player was where do you hide them?
Yeah, in the corner of a map.
Early game, you could just put them over the water somewhere, but once the Protoss started getting their flying units, you were really screwed. Yeah,
you kind of had to scatter them to the 4 winds and just see.
Hope you could hide them and they would never be found.
Exactly, but they would eventually find them at some point. But so a brief history on Blizzard, kind of like we were saying, or our Starcraft. So, like James was saying, they first started developing the game in '95. And shortly after that, they released the highly successful. They began development of StarCraft in '95, and after that, they released Warcraft 2: Tides of Darkness, which is the pirate-themed Warcraft game.
Not
the brightest hour, but it was still fun at the time.
It was the mid-90s.
It is what it is. So, StarCraft made its debut at E3 in '96. For you kids that don't remember E3, it's the now defunct Entertainment's Expo.
It's not what it used to be.
Well, it's not there. They canceled it this year. They're not even doing a virtual one. So I don't think it's coming back. That's just me. So, anyways,
a lot of the big publishers are doing their own announcements, and I think it's going to go the way that Nintendo's doing things, where things don't get announced until a month or 2 before they come out.
I would totally be okay with that.
I mean, it's in terms of building and maintaining hype, it's easier.
Well, that too. You can literally have your own studio and have a pre-recorded junket and kick it out like Nintendo does.
Yep, and you can kick things out when they're ready and not whenever you've announced the date 3 years in advance. So
and then you're like, whoopsie, my bad, It's like, okay, and then you got to push it back even more. So other than that, so obviously they released this kind of pre-plan, this prototype at E3 '96. This version they displayed, they had Bob Finch, who was actually one of the key architects in many of the Blizzard games, especially with Warcraft, Warcraft 2, and Starcraft. He was much more prominent in those. Then you also have Bill Rogers, who was one of the game's producers. stated this would be a major departure from the Warcraft approach, comparing its two equal sides to those of chess, and stating that Starcraft would allow players to develop very unique strategies based on which species is being played, and require players to think of different strategies to combat the other two species. Uh, so that is, I mean, that was the essence of the game, right?
And it's still an unusual thing to find.
Yeah, you don't have that very often. Like, you'll have it here and there.
It takes a lot more work for a game developer for every like different strategy you add to the game. Like even now, most real time strategies they have different countries.
Yeah,
and each country has a bonus that kind of leans you towards a particular play style.
yeah, but it's not.
But even like in Civ 6, it's not like radically different.
No,
It's the same
you
idea.
can literally build the same units unless it's a unique unit to that civ.
Like you want to play to your strength, but it's not like the Protoss and the Zerg. They're not on completely opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, well, you have literally completely different play styles that you have to work on. So yeah, it's very interesting to kind of see where the humble beginnings they came from. And another thing that they said that about this was one of the early, since this is the early or the mid '90s, the graphics are completely hand drawn.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't this pre-rendered stuff that you get nowadays and things like that. They put a ton of time in putting in these movements and the graphics in there for all these characters. So,
and for the time period, this game was gorgeous.
No, absolutely. So, and then like you said, we kind of went over the basic.
Like I remember back in the day, even when we were in college, there was a professor at Mizzou who offered a mathematics of Starcraft course as one of his gen courses.
That's cool. I would be down with that.
Apparently, you needed to have calc and I think maybe differential equations to take the class. Apparently, he was serious about it.
Wow, man loved his Starcraft. I can't be mad about that.
Chris Sire told me about it. I kind of wish he would have taken the course and told me what it was about.
But Chris Sire, of course, was like, nope, not going to do that. So. So obviously, like we said, the setting is one of the biggest things that they had in here. Starcraft, it said, takes place in a science fiction universe created by Chris Metzen and James Finney for Blizzard Entertainment. So it's set up as the overpopulation of Earth in the early 24th century has caused the international governing body known as the United Powers League, which was later changed to United Earth Directorate, which sounds way more like authoritarian.
It does.
So I kind of like it a little more.
The consolidation of power happening there.
Yeah, to exile certain members of the human race, such as criminals, the cybernetically enhanced, and the genetic mutants, to colonize the far reaches of the galaxy. An attempt to colonize a nearby solar system goes wrong, resulting in humanity's arrival in the Kapulu sector.
Kind of like Australia in space.
Pretty much.
I mean, just a very plausible scenario.
Yeah, so you're basically looking at this is set in the 24th century, and as we kind of go in there, they basically say, okay, we're gonna go colonize this for you guys. Okay, by the way, screw you guys, we're making our own country, our own federation, and it's the Confederacy of Man is what they're called.
Of course,
why not, right? So it's essentially just like, hey, we're Australia, like you said. Exactly. We're going to make our own country.
Screw you guys.
Yeah, screw you guys. I'm going home. And that's when they basically kind of push it up into, say, this is the Confederacy has been around for quite a while. And on top of some internal struggles that they're having, this is when the Zerg pop up out of nowhere. And the Protoss come chasing the Zerg because they're like
the Zerg, yeah.
The Zerg are bad. They're bad. The Zerg are essentially like the orcs from the Warhammer series, where they just like take over everything.
The original orcs, pre-Thrall.
That's right. K with a K.
Yes.
Are they gnashy, bony teeth things? Boomies.
I like Warhammer orcs. I mean,
they're the best. They're my favorite type of orc ever. Honestly, I would love to play like a role play game where we play in the Warhammer universe. It'd be super dark and like depressing.
I would enjoy that a lot, actually.
I just don't know if I could get Jackie or any of the gals to want to play it. It's the problem.
Maybe not.
That's the only downside. So. We might have to get a group of guys in. Maybe we could do that. Maybe.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of round kind of setting that they have in it. So we kind of did the, like I said, we did the gameplay, we did the development a little bit. Upon being released, they actually uh, stated that they were going to do a free to play demo. They basically said, "Hey, this is one of the things that has made it so prominent," and let people say, "Hey, see, hey, we've got a game coming that's really good." Blizzard released the first three missions and the tutorial, and they were like, "Hey, this is what it's going to be. Have some fun, play with it." But they also said that, "Hey guys, we're going to be also going to be launching it on a new service that we have. It's called BattleNet."
Yes.
And that was the big thing that they're starting to push, like, because they knew that they could start doing these multiplayer things. Because at this point, they had
multiplayer was for the most part direct connections on
yes,
a local area network.
and this was going to be online, so you could matchmake with people and play.
Like there was some IP tunneling software you could use at the time,
Yeah,
where you could set up it was called a tunnel, from network to network.
Yep.
So you try to meet up, but again, that was something you did like with people you knew.
Yeah,
and it was very tricky. BattleNet was this live matchmaking service, and
yeah, made it way easier to
part of what made the game so big, I think.
Yeah, you could literally hook up with somebody and be like, "Hey, I want to fight this person," and you could see what they're going to play. And you're like, "Okay, I'm going to play. They're going to be a Zerg. All right, I'm going to play the Protoss because they're like made to kill the Zerg."
Yeah, and then so suddenly, what was previously largely a single player experience, you might play, a multiplayer tournament again live on a local network. It suddenly became a competitive game.
Yeah, and it was really fun. So after that launched, it launched to being a huge success, right? People they went bananas for it, so much so that not even 2 years later, Blizzard was like, "Hey, by the way, we're going to release an expansion for it," and it basically took the end of the Starcraft campaign, which is where you see, I believe it is, that's where you see Kerrigan get kidnapped. And at the beginning of this one, she pops out and she's like, "Boom, I'm a Zerg, bitch.
I'm a Zerg now, yeah."
Yeah, and you have to kind of deal with this, and you have to deal with the relationship between Kyle Rayner, who's kind of the main protagonist in these games a little bit, and Kerrigan, which they had like a slight love interest in the game. And he's like, "How do I fix her?" And she's like, "I don't need to be fixed," and kind of thing like that. And they kind of have to fight a little bit. So they do that, and then they, I believe it's an additional, an additional one. Am I thinking wrong here, James? Of course, on top of the campaign, it added new units
there
and
was
things
a
like
prequel.
that.
There was a prequel release with 2 extra missions.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you.
There was a second campaign called The Enslavers, which had 5 extra missions for Terrans and Protoss.
I'm trying to remember. Brood War. That's what the next one was.
Brood War was the expansion pack.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, they
Insurrection first, and then Brood War.
Yeah, Insurrection, then Brood War. Brood War was the big one where they're like, "Hey, Kerrigan's going on full assault on you guys." So they did all that, and like I said, it was just a huge. They released it on Windows and Mac. Everyone loved the Brood War expansion. I don't know if I still have. I'm pretty sure I still have it somewhere. In here.
I know you have it somewhere.
It's probably in that. It's probably in that binder right there. So
probably
with all my other old CDs that I can't use on my non-CD drive computer.
I have a CD graveyard as well of like all the different games from back in the day. And sometimes you flip through and we're like, "Oh man, there's so many."
That was a good one. I'm pretty sure I have some CD codes ripped off and like taped on there so I don't forget it.
I can neither confirm nor deny this.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, but obviously they said they released this and they started pushing for these new multiplayer matches, and they basically said, "Hey, guess what, guys? We on top of once these all got released, they basically said, hey, we've got 32 multiplayer maps, pre-made multiplayer maps you can choose from. But guess what? You can also make your own. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool, right?
Yep.
And they really that was another thing that was really big.
Yeah, editors were big.
They took that and they took it from the Warcraft scene and they made that part of this, which is phenomenal. So, and from that the competitive Starcraft scene really took off,
especially in Korea,
South Korea
Asia in general.
Absolutely. And I was just amazed at the amount of information that they had on this kind of thing, it's actually still going today, even with the re-release of this original game, remastered original game with all the expansions onto it before StarCraft 2 came out, which you noticed I have the first two.
I see him sitting there. Yeah,
I have not bought the third one because I just refuse to do it. I'm angry about
what
it.
are you angry about?
I didn't like it as much, man. I tried so hard. So I will go back probably at some point if they put it on a super discount. I might buy it just so I can play the campaign. But they went hard and heavy on the multiplayer in the second installment.
That's what I heard is that the multiplayer for StarCraft 2 was polished and amazing, but the story didn't get quite the same amount of love.
And that's what made me a little angry because I've gotten to the point in my career or my life where I really like stories in games. I like that a lot more. I will play some multiplayer stuff here and there, get some of the lore like League. I like that kind of stuff. But I'm very much more on the story side of things and getting the backs.
I'm with you. Like for multiplayer games, I play them with my friends.
Yes,
it's to spend time with people.
Yep.
I don't sit and play like a single player ranked ladder or something like that. I just don't.
If you've noticed, I don't. My level doesn't go up unless I play with you guys.
And that's the same thing with me. Like I have played maybe 5 games by myself.
Yeah. To be fair, though, you usually get stuck with like at least one trash player in that if you play by yourself.
It's just not as much fun.
No, it's definitely not as much fun. So it's like pulling teeth because you get with somebody that wants to micromanage everybody usually. So and I'm like, I don't like to play with these people.
I don't either.
So, but anyways, StarCraft, like I said, it got released to just outrageous applause. Even the remaster people loved. They actually kind of saw a resurgence in it.
Yeah, I think I said they sold 1.5 million copies in 1998.
Yep.
Making it the best-selling computer game of the year.
Yep.
And it was the 14th best-selling release between 93 and 99.
Yep.
Selling, almost 1 million copies total.
See, that's kind of ridiculous. Just this
the market was a lot smaller back then.
That is true,
and that is a outrageous volume. I know, like some small time indie games can hit those numbers now. Well, actually, not a small time, a mid league indie game can hit those kind of numbers now.
That's okay.
But the market's a lot bigger. Back in the day, like even in the late '90s, the number of people who had a home computer and played video games was a lot less.
Yep. Well, that's the thing is, like you said, nowadays the entry level it's still expensive to get a computer, but you can literally pay like $700-800 and get a laptop, and you can play most of these games on there. You don't have to play anything super fancy.
And most games that come out now with bleeding edge graphics have lower set graphics modes. Like you can play on a PC with hardware from 15 years ago and play modern games.
Yeah, still have a good time.
You're not going to get those Far Cry 5,
Yeah.
gorgeous graphics out of it, but you can play the game.
But we will, James, because #PC Master Race.
Yes, that's right.
That's right. They're flowing locks, golden locks of hair flowing in the background. But yeah, so James, for our fans out there, how many brood spawns out of 10 would you give this?
I mean, StarCraft is 10.
I would give it.
I don't usually throw out those kind of things, but considering the time it came out, considering the genre and its legacy, and just how good it was, I mean, StarCraft's a 10.
Absolutely, I will. Yeah.
Not everyone is going to enjoy that type of game to that extent. Not everyone is necessarily going to like real-time strategies, but if you want to pick up one of the bastions of the genre, this would be the way to go.
I will agree with you on that.
I think we've talked about a lot of big-name RTSs, and StarCraft really just overshadows them all.
It's true, and it's mainly because of me, because these are my bread and butter. I love my RTSs, you know me, so I will give it a, you know what, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 Sons of Korhal. So that's what I'm going to give it. So you can have your brood spawns. I'll have my Sons of Korhal. So I'm definitely a Terran player, if you guys haven't noticed. So I love my Terrans to death. So, but because the Yamamotos are my favorite little airship to play. That's the end game, the end game Terran flying battleship. It literally goes brr, it like collects the power, it goes, and it goes. It's like it's a big move. So
I was into that sort of thing when we played like Armored Core back in the day, but
oh yeah,
for StarCraft, building like 10 Zerglings and going to go kill someone is a lot of fun.
It is quite fun. So, but yeah, guys, if you guys have not checked it out, I think it's free on Blizzard. I think Blizzard gives it away for free.
It's not free. It's awfully cheap.
Yeah, it's like maybe $20 for the remastered version.
You can still get it on Battle.net, which I would recommend.
Enjoy it while you can in case Blizzard goes under. Doubtful now that Xbox has bought them, but
Microsoft bought them out, so
hopefully it'll be there for years to come, guys. But I would highly recommend to check it out, even if it's just you want to get some nostalgic history about what the Starcraft world was about and what the RTS world was about. It's a good place to start and kind of enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Much like I always highly recommend people go back and play the first Super Mario.
Yeah. And if you want a modern competitive RTS, StarCraft 2 is great as well.
Yeah,
maybe not so much the story.
If you wanna go get your butt kicked by a bunch of Koreans, go right ahead.
Yeah, you will lose to the Koreans.
I lost many a time, and that's why I rage quit. I don't play anymore. So another reason why. So, but anyways, my hat comes off to you, South Koreans. Continue with your besting of us in esports for many years to come.
In general, I don't know if American teams have ever won a significant esports event.
Not really. No, nothing outside of our country. Like even notice some of the American teams, we will basically, I'd say what's the right term? It's not import. We will basically
import players when Overwatch League was a thing. They were importing players to teams.
Legitimate. I think it was over half the players in the Overwatch League were either from South Korea or from some kind of that Pacific Island area over there. And I'm just are we just trash players?
They're all East Asians.
We're just trash players. That's all it is to it. So it's what it is.
We just don't dedicate ourselves to the same extent.
We don't have the discipline that they do.
They live and breathe it.
That's right. Like true MOBAs or first person shooter players should be. That's right. Sorry, I've got that tickle in my back of my throat all day, so I'll have to get that out here in a minute. But anyways, I just want to say for a wrap up, James, thanks for coming in and shooting the breeze with me for a little while. I know we went a little over this time, but sometimes it's nice to go over a little bit and enjoy the vast cosmos and the sticky terrain that is this Zerg infested world that we live in. So
that's right.
That's right. But James, all right. So taking us out, I'm going to say thanks for having you in here today. Is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
That's about it. Have a good day, guys.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. And if you have any questions or concerns, just hit us up and we'll get back to you. All right, guys. Have a wonderful week. Bye. Bye. If you're interested in keeping up to date with new episodes on our channel, add us on any of your favorite podcasting apps or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you have questions or concerns, please email us at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback. Thank you for listening to our show.